Admiral Tamin Park stood in front of the big screen at Seoul Defense Command. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he did not care. The red warning light on his desk kept blinking. Something was very wrong. "Sir, we lost contact with New Busan Colony 3 days ago," said Lieutenant Bora Kim. She looked tired and worried. "All communication channels are dead. No radio signals, no data feeds, nothing." Tamin felt his stomach drop. New Busan was home to 50,000 people. It was one of humanity's best colonies. The planet had good soil for farming and clean water. Families lived there. Children played in the streets. Old people sat in gardens and watched the sunset. "Send a probe," he ordered. "I want to know what happened." The probe would take 2 days to reach the colony. Those were the longest 2 days of Taemin's life. He could not sleep. He could not eat. He kept thinking about the families on New Busan. He had friends there. His old teacher lived there with her grandchildren. When the probe finally reached the system, the news was worse than anyone expected. Lieutenant Kim called him to the main screen with a shaking voice. "Sir, you need to see this." The probe's cameras showed empty space where the orbital stations used to be. Pieces of metal floated like broken toys. The planet below looked wrong. Where green forests and blue rivers should be, there were only black spots and gray dust. "Get me a closer look at the surface," Tamin said. The probe moved closer to the planet. The cameras focused on where the main city used to stand. Tamin felt sick. The city was gone. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Gone. In its place was a crater of melted glass that stretched for miles. "The energy readings show this was done with plasma weapons," said Dr. Hai Jin Lee, the science officer. "Very advanced ones. They heated the ground so much, it turned to glass. Everything organic was burned away completely." Tamin closed his eyes. 50,000 people. Men, women, children, babies, all gone, turned to ash in seconds. "Sir, I'm detecting something," Lieutenant Kim said. "A small object in the asteroid belt. It might be a survival pod." "Send a rescue ship immediately," Tamin ordered. "Captain." Sora Kim took her destroyer, Seoul's Vengeance, to investigate. She found a single escape pod floating among the rocks. Inside was Dongwoo Lee, a mining engineer. He was barely alive. His body was covered in burns and his mind was broken from what he had seen. The medical team worked for hours to save him. When Dongwoo finally woke up, he grabbed Sora's arm with weak hands. "They came without warning," he whispered. "Big ships. Bigger than anything I ever saw. They were crystal-like, not metal. They just started shooting." Sora gave him water and waited for him to continue. "We tried to talk to them. We sent messages saying we were peaceful. They did not answer. They did not care. They just kept shooting until everything was dead." "Who were they?" Sora asked. "The Vorthak," Dongwoo said. "I heard their ship names on the radio before everything went quiet. They're made of living crystal or something. They don't breathe air like us." Sora felt her blood turn cold. The Vorthak Empire was known throughout the galaxy. They were old and powerful. They had conquered many worlds, but they had never attacked humans before. "Did they take prisoners?" she asked. Dongwoo shook his head. "No prisoners. No mercy. They burned everything that could live, even the plants, even the bacteria in the soil. They wanted to make sure nothing human could ever grow there again." Back at Seoul Defense Command, Admiral Taemin called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. The president looked old and tired when she heard the news. 50,000 people, she said quietly. "All dead. Why would they do this?" We don't know, Taemin replied. But we need to respond. We cannot let this go unpunished. The president contacted the Galactic Council. It was a group of alien species that tried to keep peace in the galaxy. Surely they would help humans get justice for New Busan. The council's answer came 3 days later. Ambassador Yon Suk-han delivered the message with tears in her eyes. They say it's regrettable, she told the emergency meeting, but they will not take action against the Vorthak Empire. They say humans should not have built colonies in disputed space. Disputed space? Taemin shouted. New Busan was 50 light-years from the nearest Vorthak world. How is that disputed? They don't care, Yon-suk said. The older species see us as newcomers. They think we're too aggressive, too dangerous. They're actually happy that someone put us in our place. Taemin stared at the pictures of New Busan on his wall. Before and after photos. Before, it showed happy families and green parks. After, it showed nothing but glass and death. Then we'll handle this ourselves, he said. Sir, the Vorthak Empire has 1,000 ships, said General Woo Jin Park. They've been fighting wars for centuries. We're just one species. How can we possibly— I don't care how big they are, Taemin interrupted. They killed our people. They murdered children. They thought we were weak. They thought we would do nothing. He turned to face the room full of military officers and government leaders. Send word to Project Nemesis. Tell them it's time to wake up the Ghost Fleet. Everyone in the room went quiet. Project Nemesis was Earth's biggest secret. Even most of the people in this room didn't know what it really was. Sir, said Admiral Ji-Hoon Nam carefully. Are you sure? Once we activate Nemesis, there's no going back. The whole galaxy will know what we've been building. Taemin looked at the picture of New Busan one more time. He thought about Dong-Woo Lee, the only survivor, crying in the medical bay. He thought about 50,000 innocent people who would never see their families again. The Vorthak Empire thinks humans are weak, he said. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Send the activation codes. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Taemin stayed behind. He looked out the window at Earth's blue sky and white clouds. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak Empire was celebrating their easy victory. They thought they had taught humanity a lesson. They had no idea what was coming for them. Far beyond Pluto, in the cold darkness where no one ever looked, something began to wake up. The Oort cloud had always seemed empty to alien scouts. Just ice and rocks floating in the void. They never looked closer. They never saw the hidden shipyards that humanity had been building for 20 years. Fleet Admiral Jae Sung Cho received the activation message while he was drinking morning coffee. He had been waiting for this day his whole life, but he had hoped it would never come. The message was simple. Nemesis is go. Ghost Fleet authorization confirmed. Admiral Park sends his regards. Jae Sung put down his coffee and pressed the red button on his desk. All around him, lights began to flash. Sirens started to sound. After 20 years of secret construction, Project Nemesis was finally beginning. All stations, this is Fleet Admiral Cho, he said into his communicator. Operation. Ghost Fleet is now active. I repeat, Ghost Fleet is active. All personnel to battle stations. The hidden shipyards came alive like a sleeping giant opening its eyes. Thousands of workers who had lived their entire lives in secret began the final preparations. Ships that had never been seen by alien eyes started their engines for the first time. Commander Yoo-Jin Han stood on the bridge of her ship, Incheon's Fury. It was bigger than anything in the regular human fleet. The ship was black as space itself, and covered with technology that most people couldn't even imagine. Yujin had spent 5 years learning how to command this monster. "Commander, the quantum drives are coming online," reported Lieutenant Tai-Ho Shin. "We're showing green lights across all systems." Yujin smiled. The quantum drives were humanity's greatest secret. While other species moved through space slowly, using old technology, human ships could fold space itself. They could appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly. No one would see them coming. "How many ships are ready?" she asked. 97 heavy warships, sir," Tai-Ho replied, "plus 200 support vessels, all equipped with adaptive technology." Adaptive technology was another human innovation. Their weapons could change during battle to match whatever the enemy used. Their armor could shift to block new types of attacks. Every ship learned from fighting and became stronger. Major Sung-Ho Kang was getting his soldiers ready in another part of the shipyard. The Ghost Marines were not like regular soldiers. Their armor was alive, made from special materials that could change shape and properties. They had trained for years to fight aliens that most humans had never seen. "Listen up," Sung-Ho told his troops. "We know what the Vorthak did to New Busan. We know they killed families, children, old people. They thought we were easy targets." The soldiers' faces were hard with anger. Many of them had friends or family on the colony. They had been training for this war without knowing when it would come. "The Vorthak are made of living crystal," Sung-Ho continued. "They're tough, but they have weak spots. Our weapons are designed to find those weak spots. Our armor can protect us from their energy weapons. We are going to show them what happens when you mess with humanity." Meanwhile, Captain Minji Bay was doing something very different. Her ship, Silent Wind, was invisible to all sensors. She had been spying on Vorthak space for months, listening to their communications and watching their fleets. What she heard made her angry. The Vorthak leaders were laughing about New Busan. They called it pest control. They were already planning to attack more human colonies. They thought one easy victory meant they could destroy humanity whenever they wanted. "Commander Bay to Fleet Admiral Cho," she said into her secret communicator. "I have intelligence on Vorthak fleet movements." "Go ahead, Minji," Jae-Sung replied. "They're planning to hit Kepler 186 next week. 3 mining colonies with about 20,000 people total. They want to see if humans will fight back or just run away." Jae-Sung felt his jaw tighten. "Are their fleets in position?" "Not yet. They're being very casual about it. They think, we're too scared to fight. Their main battle fleet is still near their home systems." "Perfect. Send me all the data you have. We're going to give them a surprise they'll never forget." Back in the shipyards, the final ships were coming online. Dr. Hysun Park, the chief scientist, watched as her greatest creation powered up. The ship was called Busan Memorial, and it was the size of a small moon. It carried enough firepower to destroy an entire star system. "All Ghost Fleet vessels, this is Admiral Cho," came the announcement. "Prepare for first deployment. Target coordinates are being transmitted now." Commander Han felt her ship come alive around her. The quantum drives hummed with power. The weapon systems ran final checks. The adaptive armor shifted and tested its configurations. Incheon's Fury was ready for war. "Yujin, you'll be leading the first strike," Admiral Cho told her privately. "I want you to hit Rigel 7. It's a Vorthak mining station with about 500 aliens. Show them what humans can do when we're angry." "Understood, sir." "What are our rules of engagement?" "The same mercy they showed New Busan," Jae-Sung replied. "None. On the Vorthak homeworld of Sethera Prime, Grand Hierarch Vex Thul was meeting with his war council. The crystal beings looked like living gemstones, beautiful and terrible at the same time. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for 1,000 years. "The humans have gone quiet since we destroyed their colony," reported war leader Kithek. "No threats, no demands for justice. I think they're too scared to respond." "Good," Vexthul said. "Mammals are always weak when faced with superior force. We should begin the next phase. Destroy a few more of their colonies to make sure they understand their place." "What about the Galactic Council?" asked another advisor. "Will they interfere?" "The Council is happy to see humans put in their place," Vexthul replied. "The older species fear these mammals. They breed too fast and spread too quickly. Everyone wants to see them stopped." None of the Vorthak leaders knew that Captain Bay's invisible ship was recording every word they said. They had no idea that their most secure communications were being monitored by human technology they couldn't detect. "Fleet Admiral, this is Captain Bay," Minji reported. "You need to hear this. The Vorthak are planning a major offensive. They want to hit 12 human colonies over the next month. They're calling it Final Solution for the Mammal Problem." Jae-sung felt cold anger fill his chest. The Vorthak weren't just attacking human colonies. They were planning genocide. They wanted to wipe out humanity completely. All Ghost Fleet. "Commanders, new orders," he announced. "We're not just responding to one attack anymore. We're stopping a genocide. The Vorthak Empire has declared war on our entire species." Commander Han checked her weapons one last time. Every torpedo was loaded. Every energy cannon was charged. Every system was running perfectly. Around her, 96 other warships were making the same preparations. "Ghost Fleet, this is Admiral Cho," came the final announcement. "Quantum drives are authorized. Jump coordinates locked in. Remember New Busan. Remember the 50,000 innocent people who died. Make sure their deaths are not forgotten." "Ghost Fleet acknowledges," Yujin replied for all the ships. "Quantum jump in 10 seconds." She thought about the families on New Busan, parents who would never see their children again. Children who died afraid and alone. Old people who had lived long lives only to have them ended by alien weapons. "Jump," she ordered. Space folded around the Ghost Fleet like origami made of starlight. One moment they were in the dark cold of the Oort cloud. The next moment they were at Rigel 7, appearing out of nowhere like vengeful spirits. The Vorthak Empire was about to learn that destroying a human colony wasn't just their first mistake. It was going to be their last mistake, too. The Vorthak mining station at Rigel 7 was having a normal day. Crystal beings moved slowly through the tunnels, extracting valuable minerals from the asteroid. Their ships floated nearby, ready to carry the precious cargo back to the Empire. Nobody expected trouble. Commander Yujin Han watched through her ship's cameras as the Vorthak went about their work. They looked peaceful, almost beautiful in their crystal forms. But she remembered what they had done to New Busan. She remembered the glass crater where 50,000 humans used to live. "All ships, this is Commander Han," she said into her radio. "Ghost Fleet is in position. Target analysis complete. Begin attack in 30 seconds. The Vorthak had 8 warships protecting the mining station. They were big and powerful with weapons that could destroy most human vessels easily. But the Vorthak had never fought the Ghost Fleet before. "Enemy ships are moving to intercept," reported Lieutenant Tae-ho Shin. "They're trying to form a defensive line." "Let them," Yujin replied. "They have no idea what they're facing." The Vorthak commander, war leader Zekthon, saw the human ships appear on his screens. He was confused, but not worried. These ships looked strange, darker than normal human vessels, but there were only 12 of them. His 8 ships should be able to handle 12 human boats easily. All vessels, destroy the mammals, he ordered. Show them the price of entering. Vorthak space. The Vorthak ships fired first. Bright beams of energy shot across space toward the human fleet. The weapons were powerful enough to cut through normal starship armor like paper, but the Ghost Fleet ships were not normal. Adaptive armor responding, Lieutenant Shin reported. Enemy weapons are being analyzed and countered. Yujin watched as the Vorthak energy beams hit her ship's hull. The armor shifted and changed, becoming a mirror that reflected the attacks back at the enemy. Other ships developed shields that absorbed the energy and fed it to their own weapons. Return fire, Yujin ordered. What happened next would be talked about in alien military schools for generations. The human ships didn't just shoot back. They unleashed weapons that the Vorthak had never seen before. Lieutenant Colonel Wansik Park commanded the heavy destroyer Soul's Thunder. His ship fired something called dark matter torpedoes. The weapons didn't explode when they hit the Vorthak vessels. They simply made the enemy ships stop existing. One moment a Vorthak cruiser was there. The next moment, there was empty space. Captain Hyun-woo Nam's ship, Gwangju Ascendant, demonstrated gravitational warfare. It created tiny black holes that pulled Vorthak ships apart from the inside. The crystal beings inside screamed over their radios as their vessels twisted into impossible shapes. But the most terrifying sight was Commander Yun-Soo Yang's fighter squadrons. The small ships moved like living things, changing direction instantly without slowing down. They phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside Vorthak hulls to attack from within. War leader Zekthon watched his fleet die in minutes. His ships were advanced and powerful, but they couldn't fight enemies that ignored the laws of physics. The humans weren't just winning, they were teaching a lesson in terror. Request immediate assistance, he broadcast to all Vorthak forces. The humans have technology beyond our understanding. They are not the weak mammals we thought. They are something else, something dangerous. His message was cut short when dark matter torpedoes turned his flagship into nothing. Yujin watched the last Vorthak warship explode. The battle had lasted exactly 14 minutes. 8 advanced alien warships destroyed by 12 human vessels without taking any damage. Commander, we're detecting life signs in the mining station, reported Lieutenant Shin. About 300. Vorthak workers and a few military personnel. Prepare boarding parties, Yujin ordered. Major Kang, you're up. Major Seong-ho Kang led his Ghost Marines through the airlock into the mining station. Their armor shifted from black metal to a crystal-like substance that confused the Vorthak sensors. They moved through the tunnels like shadows, faster than the crystal beings could react. The Vorthak workers huddled together in fear. These were not warriors, just miners and engineers doing their jobs. But Major Kang remembered the civilian families on New Busan. He remembered children who had been vaporized while playing in gardens. Round up the survivors, he told his soldiers. Leave the command staff alive. I want them to send a message. The Ghost Marines captured the Vorthak station commander, sub-leader Tixmol. The crystal being was terrified as human soldiers in adaptive armor surrounded him. Their weapons could change from energy guns to solid projectiles to chemical sprayers depending on what they were fighting. Please, Tixmol begged. We are just miners. We have families, children. So did New Busan, Major Kang replied coldly. 50,000 humans with families, children. They were all murdered by your people. He activated the station's communication system and forced Tixmol to send a message to the Vorthak Empire. "This is Mining Station Rigel 7, the terrified alien said into the transmitter. "We have been attacked by human forces. Our defense fleet is completely destroyed. The mammals are not what we believe them to be. They have weapons that can unmake matter itself. They can appear from nowhere and phase through solid walls." Tixmol looked at Major Kang with frightened eyes. "Tell them about New Busan," the human ordered. They say to remember New Busan. They say this is justice for the colony you destroyed. They are not taking prisoners. They are showing the same mercy we showed to their civilians." The transmission ended. Major Kang nodded to his soldiers. The mining station's population was reduced to 0 in the same way New Busan's had been. No survivors. No mercy. Only a message carved into the station's metal walls. "Remember New Busan." Back on the command ship, Yujin received reports from the other Ghost Fleet vessels. The attack had been a complete success, but more importantly, they had sent their message to the entire Vorthak Empire. "Commander, we're picking up Vorthak military communications," reported Lieutenant Shin. "They're in panic mode. Our attack has them completely confused." Yujin listened to the alien transmissions. The Vorthak were trying to understand how humans had developed such advanced technology so quickly. Their intelligence said humans were newcomers to space, barely out of their home system. How could they have weapons that could destroy Vorthak fleets? What the Vorthak didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this war for 20 years. Every alien species that had ever contacted humanity had been studied. Their technology had been analyzed, copied, and improved upon. Human scientists had taken the best ideas from across the galaxy and made them better. "Fleet Admiral Cho to all Ghost Fleet vessels," came the transmission from their commander. "Excellent work at Rigel 7. Phase 1 is complete. Now we move to Phase 2. Yujin smiled grimly. Phase 2 would be even more devastating than Phase 1. On the Vorthak homeworld, Grand Hierarch Vex Thul was receiving disturbing reports. The humans had not only fought back, they had won a complete victory against superior forces. His military advisors were demanding to know how this was possible. "Perhaps we underestimated them," suggested war leader Kithek. "But they are still just one species. We rule 17 star systems. We have thousands of ships. Even if they are more advanced than we thought, they cannot stand against the full might of the Empire." Vexthul was not so sure. The reports from Rigel 7 described impossible weapons and tactics. Ships that could phase through walls, torpedoes that made matter disappear, armor that adapted to any attack. "Gather the Third Fleet," he ordered. "I want our best ships and most experienced commanders. We will crush these mammals before they can cause more damage." He had no way of knowing that Captain Minjibei's invisible ship was listening to every word. The Ghost Fleet would be ready for the Third Fleet long before it arrived at its target. "Commander Han, this is Captain Bei," came the secret transmission. "The Vorthak are sending their Third Fleet to the Kepler system. 12 dreadnoughts and 40 support ships. They're planning to hit our colonies there and draw us into a trap." Yujin looked at the star charts. The Kepler system had 3 human colonies with almost 100,000 people total. The Vorthak thought they were being clever, using human civilians as bait. "Let them come," she said. "We'll show them what a real trap looks like." The Ghost Fleet began moving toward Kepler, but they were not running into a trap. They were setting one. The Vorthak Empire was about to learn that underestimating human intelligence was just as dangerous as underestimating human technology. The war for the galaxy's future was just beginning. Overlord Kithek stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, Crystal Throne. Around him floated the most powerful fleet in Vorthak history, 12 dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying a planet. 40 support ships filled with the Empire's best warriors. This was the Third Fleet, the pride of the Vorthak military. "Overlord, we are approaching the Kepler system," reported his tactical officer. "Our scouts show 3 human colonies with nearly 100,000 mammals. Perfect. Bait for their primitive fleet." Kithek's crystal form glowed with satisfaction. The humans had gotten lucky at Rigel 7, but that was just a small mining station. Now they would face the true power of the Vorthak Empire. These mammals would learn their place in the galaxy. "Deploy in standard formation," he ordered. "Scan for human ships. When they arrive to defend their colonies, we will destroy them completely." What Overlord Kithek didn't know was that Admiral Taemin Park was watching him from the hidden command center on Luna. Earth's moon had been secretly converted into the largest military base in human space. Deep inside its core, quantum computers tracked every Vorthak ship movement. "Admiral, the Vorthak Third Fleet has entered the Kepler system," reported Captain So-Ra Kim. 52 ships total, just as Captain Bay predicted. Admiral Park nodded. The Ghost Fleet had been preparing for this moment for weeks. Every human ship was in position. Every weapon was ready. The trap was set. "Send the message to Admiral Sa." "Cho," he ordered. "Operation Kepler Gambit is go." In the Kepler system, Overlord Kithek waited for the human fleet to appear. He had studied reports from other battles. Human ships were small and fast, but not very powerful. His dreadnoughts would crush them easily. Hours passed. No human ships appeared on his sensors. "Where are they?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said humans always rush to defend their colonies. Why haven't they come?" "Perhaps they are too frightened," suggested his tactical officer. "Maybe they have finally learned not to challenge the Empire." Kithek was starting to feel uneasy. Something was wrong. The humans should have arrived by now. Their colonies were full of civilians who would die if not protected. What kind of species would abandon their own people? Then every communication system in his fleet activated at once. A human voice spoke in perfect Vorthak language, calm and cold as deep space. "Overlord Kithek, this is Admiral Taemin Park of the Human Defense Force. You came to our home system. You murdered 50,000 innocent people on New Busan. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." Kithek felt a chill run through his crystal body. How did the humans know his name? How were they speaking on secure Vorthak frequencies? "You wanted to face our fleet," the voice continued. "Your wish is granted." Space around the Vorthak formation began to shimmer and twist. Reality itself seemed to bend as quantum drives activated all around them. Ships appeared out of folded space, materializing where empty void had been moments before. But these were not the small human vessels Kithek expected. These ships were massive, dark as the space between stars, and covered with technology that hurt to look at. Worse, there were hundreds of them. The entire Ghost Fleet had emerged from quantum space in perfect formation around the Vorthak Third Fleet! "Impossible," Kithek whispered. "Our sensors showed empty space. How did they hide so many ships?" Commander Yu-Jin Han smiled from the bridge of Incheon's Fury. The Ghost Fleet had been waiting in folded quantum space for hours, invisible to all sensors. Now they surrounded the Vorthak Fleet like a closing fist. "All ships, this is Commander." "Han," she broadcast. "Remember New Busan? Show them what happens when aliens murder human families." The battle began with a display of firepower that would be studied by military historians for centuries. The Ghost Fleet didn't just attack. They demonstrated the full extent of human technological advancement. Captain Hyun Woo Nam's ship, Gwangju Ascendant, fired the first shot. Gravitational weapons created miniature black holes that pulled Vorthak dreadnoughts apart from the inside. The massive alien ships twisted and crumpled like paper in a crusher. Destroyer Hayun Jang commanded Seoul's Wrath, which showed off humanity's mastery of dark matter. Her torpedoes didn't explode on impact. They simply erased whatever they touched from existence. Entire sections of Vorthak ships just disappeared, leaving clean cuts through crystal hulls. But the most terrifying sight was the adaptive technology in action. As Vorthak ships fired their weapons, human vessels analyzed the attacks instantly. Their armor shifted to become immune to energy beams. Their shields learned to redirect plasma blasts back at the attackers. "Our weapons are useless," reported Keithek's tactical officer in panic. "Their ships are learning faster than we can adapt. Every shot we fire makes them stronger." Commander Tae-hyung Shin led fighter squadrons that defied all known laws of physics. The small ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside Vorthak hulls to attack critical systems. They moved through solid matter like ghosts, striking from angles that shouldn't exist. Overlord Kithek watched his invincible fleet being systematically destroyed. These weren't the weak mammals his intelligence had described. These were predators using technology beyond Vorthak understanding. "Request emergency assistance from all nearby fleets," he ordered desperately. "Tell them the humans are not what we believed. They are something far more dangerous." Major Subin Choi led boarding parties that used quantum tunneling to appear directly inside enemy ships. Her Ghost Marines didn't need airlocks or cutting tools. They simply materialized in Vorthak command centers and began taking prisoners. "The Vorthak engineering is impressive," she reported to Commander Han, "but their tactics are outdated. They're fighting like this is still a war from centuries ago." What the Vorthak didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for this specific conflict for 20 years. Every battle tactic had been designed to counter Vorthak's strengths. Every weapon had been built to exploit Vorthak weaknesses. "Overlord, we've lost 8 dreadnoughts," his tactical officer reported. "The remaining ships are taking heavy damage. We cannot win this battle." Kithek looked around at his dying fleet. Crystal warriors lay shattered on his bridge. Emergency. Lights flickered as human weapons tore through his flagship's hull. This was supposed to be the Empire's greatest victory. Instead, it was becoming their worst defeat. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said humans were barely out of their home system. How do they have weapons that make our technology look primitive?" He didn't know that Captain Minji Bay had been spying on Vorthak space for months. Every secret base had been mapped, every weapon had been studied, every tactical doctrine had been analyzed and countered. The Ghost Fleet had more than superior technology. They had perfect intelligence about their enemy. "Overlord, human ships are surrounding us," came another panicked report. "They're not trying to destroy us quickly. They're taking their time. They want us to suffer." Kithek realized the terrible truth. This wasn't just a battle. It was a lesson in fear. The humans were showing the entire Vorthak Empire what happened when you murdered innocent people. His flagship shuddered as dark matter weapons tore through the crystal hull. Atmosphere began venting into space. Emergency systems failed one by one. The Crystal Throne, pride of the Vorthak fleet, was dying. "Send a final message to the Empire," Kithek ordered with his last breath. Tell them the humans are not mammals. They are not weak newcomers. They are nightmares made real. They have been preparing for this war longer than we imagined." His transmission cut to static as the flagship's hull finally failed. Commander Han watched the last Vorthak ship explode in a shower of crystal fragments. The Third Fleet, the most powerful force in Vorthak space, had been completely destroyed. Not a single human ship had been seriously damaged. "Ghost Fleet, this is Admiral Cho," came the transmission from their commander. "Outstanding work at Kepler. The Vorthak Empire just lost their best fleet and their most experienced admiral. They're starting to understand what they're really fighting." Yujin smiled as she looked at the debris field where 52 enemy ships used to be. The Vorthak had come to the Kepler system expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had walked into the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. "All ships, prepare for quantum jump," she ordered. "We're going to pay a visit to the Vorthak homeworld. It's time to end this war." The Ghost Fleet vanished into folded space, leaving only wreckage and a simple message broadcast on all Vorthak frequencies. New Busan remembers. Surrender now, or face the same fate as your Third Fleet. On Cythera Prime, Grand Hierarch Vex Thul received the news in stunned silence. The Third Fleet was gone. Overlord Kithek was dead, and the human armada was coming for his homeworld. The Vorthak Empire, rulers of 17 star systems for 1,000 years, was about to face their final judgment. Grand Hierarch Vex Thul stood in his crystal palace on Cythera Prime, watching reports flood in from across the Vorthak Empire. The news was all bad. Human fleets had appeared in 17 star systems at the same time. Not random attacks, but perfectly coordinated strikes that destroyed military bases while leaving civilians unharmed. "How is this possible?" demanded war leader Zixcon. "The mammals don't have enough ships to attack our entire empire at once." "Apparently they do," Vexthul replied grimly. He studied the tactical displays showing the Ghost Fleet's movements. Each human force knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage. They had better intelligence about Vorthak space than the Vorthak themselves. "Grand Hierarch, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet," reported the communications officer. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The main screen activated, showing Admiral Taemin Park standing on the bridge of a ship so massive it blocked out the stars behind it. The vessel was called Terran Retribution, and it was the size of a small moon. "Grand Hierarch Vex Thul," Admiral Park said calmly. "I am Admiral Park of the Human Defense Force. Your empire attacked our colony of New Busan without provocation. You murdered 50,000 innocent civilians, including children and elderly people who posed no threat to anyone." Vexthul felt his crystal form grow cold. The human's voice was polite and professional, but his eyes held the fury of an entire species. "We offered you the same mercy you showed our families," Park continued. "None. Your military forces have been neutralized. Your war fleets are destroyed. Now you have one choice. Surrender unconditionally, or watch your homeworld burn the way. New Busan burned." The transmission ended. Vexthul looked around at his advisors, seeing fear in their crystalline faces for the first time in centuries. "They cannot destroy our homeworld," insisted war leader Zixcon. "Our planetary shields are the strongest in the galaxy. Our orbital defenses have protected us for 1,000 years. The Third Fleet was also the strongest in the galaxy," Vexthul reminded him. "Look how that ended." Through the palace windows, they could see human ships appearing in orbit. Not the small vessels they had expected, but massive dreadnoughts. that dwarfed even the largest Vorthak vessels. The Ghost Fleet had grown to over 300 ships, each one carrying technology that seemed impossible. Captain Jun-Ho Kim commanded the battlecruiser New Busan's Revenge. He had lost his entire family in the colony attack, and his ship bore their names painted on its hull. As he watched Cythera Prime's defenses activate, he thought about his daughter's smile and his wife's laugh. Captain, enemy orbital platforms are powering weapons, reported his tactical officer. Target their shield generators first, Jun-Ho ordered. I want those shields down in 5 minutes. The battle for Cythera Prime began with a demonstration of human firepower that shook the planet to its core. The orbital defenses that had protected the Vorthak homeworld for centuries were swept away like sandcastles in a tsunami. Commander Yu Jin Han watched from Incheon's fury as dark matter cannons simply erased the enemy weapons platforms. One moment, a massive crystal fortress floated in space. The next moment, there was empty void where it used to be. Their planetary shields are collapsing, reported Lieutenant Tae-Ho Shin. Multiple breaches detected. The surface is exposed. But instead of bombarding the planet, the human fleet did something unexpected. They stopped shooting. All Vorthak forces, this is Admiral Park, came the broadcast. Your defenses are down. Your fleet is gone. We could destroy your homeworld in minutes. But we are not like you. We do not murder innocent civilians. Landing ships began descending toward the planet's surface. But these were not invasion forces. They were humanitarian vessels carrying medical supplies and food. Major Sung-Ho Kang led the first Ghost Marines to touch ground on Cythera Prime. The Vorthak civilians cowered in fear as armored humans walked through their cities. They expected death and destruction. Instead, the humans set up aid stations and medical centers. "Why are they helping us?" asked a young Vorthak child, her crystal form flickering with confusion. "Because humans are better than we are," her mother replied sadly. "We killed their children. They are saving ours." In the palace, Grand Hierarch Vexathul received reports that made no sense. Human soldiers were protecting Vorthak civilians from their own military's desperate final attacks. Ghost Marines were sharing their food with hungry crystal beings. Medical teams were treating wounded Vorthak with the same care they would give humans. "This is not how conquerors behave," Vexathul said to his advisors. "What do these mammals want?" His answer came when Admiral Park walked into the throne room. The human leader was escorted by only 2 guards, showing no fear of being in the heart of enemy territory. He approached the crystal throne where Vexathul sat surrounded by his dead generals. "Your people made a choice," Park said quietly. "They chose to commit genocide against innocents. We chose to remember." He placed a simple document on the crystal table beside the throne. "These are our terms. Complete disarmament of your military, reparations for the families killed on New Busan, and acceptance of human oversight to ensure you never again threaten peaceful colonies." Vexathul looked at the surrender document with trembling manipulators. "And if we refuse?" Admiral Park gestured toward the window where the massive form of Terran Retribution blocked out the sky. "Then we demonstrate our final weapon, technology that can turn your sun into a supernova. Your choice." The Grand Hierarch understood. The humans weren't bluffing. They had the power to destroy entire star systems, but they were offering mercy instead. They were proving themselves to be better than the Vorthak Empire had ever been. With shaking appendages, Vexathul signed the surrender document. News of the Vorthak defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light. species that had ignored the destruction of New Busan suddenly paid attention to humanity. The mammals had not just won a war, they had completely changed the balance of power in galactic civilization. Commander Si Jin Park filed the final report from New Busan's memorial site. The colony was being rebuilt, stronger and more beautiful than before. A monument stood where the original settlement had died, bearing the names of every person who had perished in the attack. But the real monument was in space. The Ghost Fleet continued to patrol human territory, a reminder to any who would threaten humanity that eradicating a human colony wasn't just their first mistake, it was their last. 6 months later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassador Yun-Suk Han stood before representatives of dozens of alien species, presenting humanity's formal application for council membership. The vote was unanimous. No one wanted to oppose the species that had defeated the Vorthak Empire. Outside the council chambers, Admiral Park reviewed intelligence reports. Other hostile species were already testing human resolve, looking for signs of weakness. They would find none. The Ghost Fleet grew larger each day, incorporating new technologies and tactics. Humanity had learned the fundamental truth of galactic politics. Peace was maintained not through diplomacy alone, but through the absolute certainty that aggression against human interests would be met with overwhelming and decisive retaliation. On Dao, New Busan, children played in gardens while their parents worked in the fields. The planet was alive again, green and beautiful under its gentle sun. But in orbit above, human warships maintained their eternal watch. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Written in the ashes of the Vorthak Third Fleet, humans might seem peaceful and weak when left alone, but threaten their families, murder their children, and you would face something far more dangerous than any alien empire. You would face humanity united in righteous fury, armed with technology beyond imagination, and absolutely determined to ensure that no innocent would ever suffer the fate of New Busan again. The stars themselves would remember the lesson. Underestimate humanity at your own peril. The Ghost Fleet was watching. The Ghost Fleet was waiting. And the Ghost Fleet never forgot.